Hello everyone. My name is Claudia Chapman. I'm a women's empowerment and sexual trauma coach, and welcome to my series of interviews with healers, coaches, therapists, way showers, and intuitives in order to understand more about the women behind our businesses, what motivates us, and calls us to do what we do. In the world of chaos and confusion, these women are a vital part of our lives, and it's my aim for us to get to know these women a little better. So today I would love to introduce you to Neha Misra, and she's going to introduce herself because she can do it so much better than me. So over to you, Neha.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yes, this is me. How do I introduce myself in a short words? I suppose the most important thing that's brought me here is that I am basically an intuitive energy worker, not dissimilar to yourself. I work with quantum instant energy. I'm blessed to have mastered my intuition and prior to the pandemic, I also worked with probably about maybe like 400 plus sexual abuse survivors. I help people release their trauma without them reliving it. Post-pandemic, we've all got a little bit of trauma in us, so my clientele slightly widened. But I've been doing this journey now for I'd say fully professionally about 14 years. I trained as a theta healer back in the day when no one even knew what theta healing was, including myself. But I saw the benefits really easily because I'm fundamentally, I like to get to the happy quickly. So I like the fact that theta healing was very instant. It was very quick. There was no reliving of the experience. You didn't have to go through it all again. You didn't even necessarily have to remember it. You just released it from the body and the feeling was immediate. And I was like, yes, I like this. I'm lazy. I don't want to go and talk about it for hours and blah blah blah. I ended up doing that for a while in conjunction. um my marriage was also coming apart at the seams. And so it was like the two ran alongside itself. I was initially using that in a way to somehow see if I could repair or help or mend it. um and I did, but not in the way I thought I was going to, which was an anticipation that the marriage would work out. But it stayed with me, and then I trained, and then gradually in those 14 years, particularly again around about the time of the pandemic, when I shifted from one to online, I started to develop my own modality because I thought it's not fast enough. I need to get to the happy even quicker, because as you said in your intro, in this world of chaos, it's a tsunami. We're assaulted by just how much we have to process and assimilate, and the challenges of where do you put your focus, your energy. And I'm going to suggest that obviously there's a whole different set of skills that, again, as you said, as way showers, as healers, as spiritual light workers, we also have a different set of challenges. And um and again, as women in that dynamic. And then for me, particularly, something I've sort of become, I think, even more um, aware of, that layer of onion skin that has sort of peeled away, is just the fact that I'm a woman of color. Look, I even stumble because I'm so confused as how I'm supposed to describe myself. My A is not white, in case you hadn't noticed. Because that's another thing, you get categorized and labeled in so many different places. And if you don't feel like you belong, if you feel like you bleed over the lines into other areas, you look to find a way where you can find that you belong. And along the way I found I didn't, and that made me look internally. And as a result, that's where my modality grew from. And so that's what I've been doing now. I fundamentally help people to release their trauma without reliving it, to discover their hidden self-limiting beliefs and harness hidden powers, because I attest to the fact that we are all way more powerful than we realize.
Wow. Shivers. Okay, so what I do before this interview, just to let other people know, is that I don't delve into who I'm talking to until I do it on here, because it's way more powerful, way more powerful. And I've just been getting shivers everything you said. So let me just reflect back. Totally. And we had the whole white polo conversation. Well, we didn't. We kind of just both showed up knowing that intuitive and healers must wear white polo necks, by the way.
And I didn't even know we were going to be filmed. I was like, just a little bit that as you do.
Amazing. So let me just start by reflecting something back. So first of all, I had no idea that that you've been working with sexual trauma. And I kind of just went, okay, wow, this conversation is going to be really big now, because whether you know or you don't know, it's taken me 2.5 years to step into the label of being a sexual trauma coach. And I only took on the label, as it were, a few weeks ago, because I went through my own sexual trauma release that was unmet during the pandemic, that came up as my Chiron returned, as I went into menopause, and it flooded through me, and I had a massive release of shame. And I've been on a very long process for the last 2.5 years to finally get to a point where I realized that 90% of the women that were coming to me, the basis of their trauma or their difficulties in all areas of their life, whether it was addiction or what have you, body image, was coming from sexual trauma. So I felt like the universe was sending me a very clear message. So that's why I've stepped into what I do. So hearing you say that, firstly, was like, whoa, okay, this is going to be an amazing conversation. And then the second thing you said was around the piece of not entering into the trauma, working on the trauma. You didn't say the word trauma informed, but that's how I translate it to mean. In other words, if you're a trauma therapist, then you will go and relive the trauma. As the way I'm understanding you work and the way that I work is you can talk about and sort of address the trauma, but not relive the trauma. So it's all about transmuting and reframing the trauma without diving into the trauma itself. Yes, we're on the same page. Good. So that's what I heard, shivers. So that's great. And I'm absolutely we are totally going to be having more conversations than the one we're having today. That's for sure. And then you're talking about the fact that you went into that work because, from what I think you said, around you're actually trying to resolve your own marriage, and now it's transmuted into another modality. So my first question is, one, did it save your marriage? And two, can you go into further? Okay, the answer to that is no.
Well,
okay.
It saved me. Didn't save the marriage, but it saved me.
Right. And that's a really interesting piece as well, isn't it? That we go into something because we kind of think we might want to save the other, which again, not again, but for me it's an again, is the kind of rescuer thing that women do, the drama triangle rescuer, right? But actually you rescued yourself, so even better, you rescued yourself. Yeah, she's dancing, I love that. Yeah, exactly. You rescued yourself. I love that. And that's always the beginning of the journey for most women, is when they start to rescue themselves. So they think they're going to do it for someone else, but then it slowly, the compass is pointing back inwards. And my work is all about not making, but sort of hoping that women understand that you don't need to look outside here. It's all in here. It's about re-tapping into that. So amazing. So yeah, tell us more about this modality that you've created, because as someone who's created my own, I'm fascinated to hear yours.
Thank you. Well, I call it a 3-step modality. So it's basically consists of reveal, release, and reinstall. So I reveal the primal wound, like the root of it, the seed of it. That's where my intuition comes in. And I use muscle testing as a form of showing people whatever sorry, I've got a hair. See, or class, miracles I can perform, the mere mundane. But that's really where my sort of intuition comes in. And honestly, as well, I have no clue how it works. I'd love to explore the science and everything behind it, because I'm sort of fascinated by that as well. Because I have a spiritual tell. I have I do a kind of like weird ass jiggle. And I always say to people, I would love it to be this like sexy kind of elegant, flutter my eyelashes and just sort of wave. Instead, I look like I'm auditioning for a horror movie, only because it comes as a surprise. It doesn't hurt me, but I do this kind of thing. And initially people are like, what's happening? I'm like, no, it's fine. I don't know how or where. You could say it's your spirit guides, because I'm sure, as you will understand and resonate with this, Claudia, what does anything mean? It only means whatever meaning we give it. So, spirit guides, universe, God, creator, it's whatever you resonate with, right? It's the same, but different. So that, the first step, then I release it with instant quantum energy healing. And I have this kind of mantra that I developed. And I know, because we had like a 2-second conversation, you're familiar with, the Asian culture, but I use the word mantra deliberately, because when you say a mantra, you become a mantra. So immediately, that's the transformation. And in that process as well, I do one thing which is, I think, really important. I see most people don't do. There's two things that first, people, I would always say, whenever you're working with any energy healer or anybody, they should ask you for permission first. It's universal law that you are. So never, even TikTok, tarot, whatever. Just, you want to know if someone you're working with is authentic and someone who should, they will ask for permission first. It is universal law. And the second thing is, in my 3-part process, I recall what I call your soul fragments, which is when you have a traumatic experience. People who are very familiar with this, in that it's almost like your brain kind of disassociates as part of you, especially the more traumatic it can be. That's, the delayed memory, which is often common in severe traumatic sexual abuse cases. It's because it's too traumatic in the moment for your whole being, your soul, to go through. So it's sort of like a little bit of cotton wool comes along and takes away a part of you, so you can digest it. It is very important to bring that back, but bring that back as to make you feel more complete and whole, but also cleanse without the trauma. You have to release that. So that's the bit that happens through the mantra. And then the final bit is, to reinstall all the yummy good stuff. Because, I don't know about you, but so I recently turned 59. And what I've learned in these biological years, if you kind of up leveling, is that everything comes down to self-love. Everything's solved with self-love. Everything out there is just a reflection of this is my belief, my knowledge of 1,000% of what's going on in your inner being, your inner dialogue, whatever happens. And there is no bad thing that can come about from self-love. It is the panacea, all-inclusive healing for everyone, accessible to everyone. It's free, doesn't matter, color, creed, class, whoever. That's what it comes down to. And the biggest stumbling block, inevitably, will be the fact that we haven't given ourselves permission.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I just spent 3 days sitting with Pema Salem in Glastonbury, in almost silence and satsang, and everything. I literally came back Sunday night, and at first it was such an uncomfortable process for me as a somatic practitioner and healer. It was just like, I want to move. So we did like 20 hours of sitting and 2 hours of moving. And it was really intense. And I had to go through a really, really new process of finding that love that you're talking about. And it's really interesting that you bring it to the table today, you know, sort of 24 hours after sort of processing it. And everything that was it that we were talking about, and everything that it was coming down to was this self-love, this idea that, you know, the way forward, that was the piece. You know, it's so simple yet so overlooked, that when we return to that inner love, that self-knowing, and that self-love then opens up ourselves in order to go, oh, okay, I have all of what I need inside of me. I don't need to be searching externally. And we need guides, and that's what we are really, is guide. We can put our labels and coach and this and that and blah blah blah, Waisha, but at the end of the day, we're guides. So we guide people back to themselves, right? Back to their hearts, back to the true essence, right?
I mean, Gandalf said that much more eloquently, that we all just walking each other home. I just say I'm the Uber driver. I was like, generally, it's above my pay grade. I cannot tell you. I can give you this information. You can muscle test it, but I am really the Uber driver. I'm literally getting you to.
Right. But we need the Uber drivers. We need the Uber drivers to show us the way. Or maybe the taxi drivers, but you know,
And
like,
again, I need a better metaphor because it really goes against my my whole
yeah.
anti-capitalism. I need an independent equivalent to Uber driver, but I'll work on that.
The
I am the
guide.
I'll
You're
go
the
back.
guide.
I'll go back a couple of centuries. I'm the rickshaw walla. I'll do this.
I like that. The rickshaw walla. I think that's brilliant. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Get
I'm
in.
not doing at that speed.
And
Yeah,
it's a bloody bumpy ride. I have been in a rickshaw, and it's a hair raising ride, but you'll get there in the end.
yeah,
Yeah, and you will feel exhilarated.
yeah. You know, life insurance would not go amiss at a certain point. I didn't like old school. I was thinking about that. Oh my God, like especially in Calcutta, because you said about your, you know, your husband and just there. And when during monsoon and everything like that. I mean, I haven't been for a decade, and I'm not saying it's like high on the agenda, but anyway, different lifetime. But yes, I was
Yeah,
going.
so
Sorry, I didn't mean to but I wanted to go back to something you said, because you said we'll talk about this more, and this is the bit that I find, to go back to the whole thing around healing sexual trauma.
mm,
You said it even earlier. It's really, for me, again, the counterbalance to the self-love is the shame. I don't think women have really, or maybe it's just me and I'm late to the party, but I've only just come to terms with just how much we are shamed, how much sex has been manipulated to be a form of, it's just sell shit. It's got so little to do with the intrinsic beauty of what I've understood it to be in my extremely limited knowledge about Tantra and energy, in that it is about opening your chakras and connecting to the divine when you have an orgasm together. It's not about procreation. You do that once a month and you work the logics out. But instead, it has been taken and commercialized, exploited, and we, as a result, if you look up the etymology of the word rape, it's not anything to do with sex, it's to do with power. It's to do about overtaking power and dominance and suppression. And then the legacy of sexual abuse is the shame, the blame, the inability to trust yourself, trust others, to open your heart. Confusion. I've had a lot of male clients who've been abused by other men, and they're heterosexual, but they have initial stirrings, you know, that they think make them homosexual, but it's not. It's because you're, you know, again, I've even looked at this, where does all extreme like BDSM and all of that come from? It comes from the first time and the first way sex is exposed to you.
right. You know, just like it came to me when you said that. It was like, I think we're going down a rabbit hole though with that if we go there. But I was just going to sort of say, you know, these first experiences can lead you into thinking that, you know what I always say? I say we're all gay until we're not. So you know, when we go through teenage years, I said to my children, to all of them, I said, listen, you know, you do the whole thing. Like, you're not gay, just do whatever it is you need to do, and you'll work out by the time you're 21 what you are, right? This is the age we're living in. We just, in our age group, it was like you didn't talk about those things, you didn't enter into those things. You just, you know, you would deny and be shamed into, first of all, masturbation, sex, or certainly not gay exploration. And it's something that's taboo. You know, we had the Me Too movement, but we are still in a society of not talking about sex. So it's really interesting, like, you know, on Facebook, as I've been entering into this and then talking directly to sexual trauma, you know, it's like tumbleweed, you know, because people do DM you, but you're not going to get much reply on the sort of socials. Because we're still in this situation, aren't we, where you know, sex is taboo. To call yourself like, so people are doing the womb work and the divine feminine work, and I've been on this exploration myself, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Whereas, you know, should I call myself a divine, you know, a feminine embodiment coach? Yes, I am a feminine embodiment coach, but I feel kind of more like we need to be talking about the sexual trauma. Like, we can't just go to the tantra work. We can't just go. There's a lot of people out there that aren't ready to go to the sexual exploration work because they actually haven't come to terms with their own sexual trauma, and I've been told that there is, you know, sort of this void. There's this
Goosebumps.
goosebumps,
Goosebumps.
right? There's this void, yeah. There's this void
Yeah.
of understanding of what you're talking about when you talked about, you know,
Okay.
this
That's
disassociation and
part
the
of the collective
denial.
shame. That's part of the collective shame. And a woman like me and a desi like me should not be talking about it. Oh my God, can you imagine how much I get shamed for it?
Well, you know, culturally, what you're talking about is collective trauma, but we're culturally shamed. So let's just go back to the thing that you said without going too much into it, because I know it can send me down a rabbit hole. Is the fact that you just said about the word rape, and rape is about power, and we know that rape has been used as it's an act of war. So it's actually an act of war. And it's used as an act of war, more so for the overall shaming, and humiliation. So it's just been used in the war that we're in now, as a way to pull it in, to make sure that it became a thing, make sure we had a war. It was used very dramatically, for the war we're in. And so this collective shame, this collective shaming, through sex, through rape, through is a thing. It's a thing. So pointing to what you said, culturally, you know, you come from a culture where, you know, just actually making eye contact, intimacy between male and females is actually shunned for quite a long time, isn't it? I mean, my ex-husband had difficulty making eye contact with me, which was crazy. He lived in India all his life, and then when he met me, he'd only been in England a few years, and it was really hard at times to make eye contact because he'd been taught all his life not to look a woman in the eyes who wasn't his sister or his mother. So that was really interesting for me. That was my first marriage. And also, I'm from, you know, listen, we're all from different cultures. Every culture, to be fair, I can say, well, I'm from a Jewish race, and you're from the Hindu, and this one's from, you know, Muslim women and the Iranian women. Every single woman could come on here who's listening to this is going, me too. I come from a culture where women aren't allowed to be women. We're all supposed to be shamed for being sexual beings. We're all supposed to be masked in some way of being a sexual being. So, you know, I just think it's a feminine thing. You know, it's just, if you were born into Britain or America, maybe you've had as a white woman, I say inverted commas because I'm very white, but I'm not, that you are then born into, you know, this ability to be whoever you want to be. But having said that, even white women would say, actually, you know, I'm just
No,
as shunned as you are.
yeah,
So,
that,
I actually think it's being a fucking woman.
yeah,
Right?
and 100%, my love. And that's so we go back to your question about the tumbleweed when you open the dialogue around the sexual trauma, and yet the statistics that we know about are insane. And I still will attest to the fact that this is where the biggest amount of collective healing needs to be done. And I've been even struggling a little bit in the last couple of weeks in a kind of personal, I'm sure you can relate and resonate to this when you look and you think, Jesus, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot that needs to be done. I'm kind of overwhelmed with the bit like, wow, there is so much of it comes down to that. But as we know, if you broaden the conversation out, just with any inner dialogue, there has to be light and dark. So, that's why I said it's the self-love that's required. That in my 3-step process, we go back to that. It's just, first is the reveal. Where did it all start? Where did all this start from? Where did this collective shaming? When hasn't it been present? If we let's just pick a story, Adam and Eve. She
Lilith.
gave, yeah, Lilith, she gave the apple, she tempted him, she seduced him. And yet, the only people who don't believe in this are the women. Because, I think there's an Indian comedian, I think his name is Vidas. I may be discrediting him, maybe someone else, but whoever did this very funny clip when they went, I think he was talking again around the whole shaming, you wore that. It must mean you want some. That's particularly a prevalent conversation in certain cultures, India being one of them. But as you say, it happens. It happens, in America and wherever, Mexico, Africa, Australia. And he said, this is the irony. Women, if they want to have sex, can have some whenever they want to. They really just can go out and get some. The power lies with us. We have it. Yes, we are. We're painted, Lilith. You said we're painted as seductress, but we don't believe that. We don't embody that because, as you say, we figure that's something we should let go of. It doesn't belong to us. It's all about creating babies and then what we're supposed to do. Okay, we'll just sort of shelve that, and you can explore that if you're married, maybe, kind of, sort of. But most people I know married have really tell me, I don't know why they tell me, but they tell me they have the suckiest sex life. So it's like, oh, okay, so where is all that going? All that juicy loving, self-love, all that vitality, knowledge, healing. Where is it going if we're not using it? Because we're shamed into not using it. And then we have the legacy of the suppression and because so many times, because then this is what we're dealing with in society, the legacy of abuse, because it's so difficult to report, and then when it's reported it's so difficult to follow through and blah blah blah, and that's without the underlying lace of the collective consciousness that shamed you into not reporting it on time, shamed you into thinking, did I want it, or did I do something wrong? Was it me? Am I to blame? Am I not good enough? So if you have all this running around and you're in a dialogue, how would you give yourself permission to love yourself?
Yeah, totally. And I think on top of all of that, what I've been learning more recently with the trauma work that I've been investigating is that something that just dropped in so clearly is that, when you are sexually abused, you go into freeze mode, you go into hyper arousal, you actually sort of dorsal out, you kind of, in the polyvagal theory, you kind of just drop out. And in order to stay safe and alive. So
Yes.
the actual human instinct or the animal instinct is you just drop out
Yeah.
so that the act can happen so that you can then get on with staying alive. So so you live in the shame of, did I do something wrong? And you minimize it and you push it down and push it down and push it down. Most women for 30 years until they're in their 50s and in their Chiron return, and they decide to kind of let it all out, like me and many others right now. And you live in that, and it's kind of like we've been through these systems of judgment from the courts and even lower than that, straight from the moment you report to the authorities, that you should be shamed into that even happening to you. So it then becomes disassociation. It didn't happen. It's minimized. It's blocked in a box in the back of your head until one day it just wants to kind of just come out. So I'm really feeling into that work right now around, understanding it. And actually, Kimberly Ann Johnson has a brilliant way of describing it. She describes all trauma the same way, that, the idea of, the jaguar and the hare, and the idea that the hare, the rabbit will just literally, when it's being chased, will actually just drop out, even after the jaguar or the wolf or whoever's got it in its teeth is shaking it around, and it just kind of like it drops it on the floor like that. And then slowly it starts to kind of come back to life. And that imagery, that understanding, really stuck with me in her book called To the Wild, because it's like we come out of that, that hyper arousal, that kind of dropping out really slowly. And for many women, the rest of their lives are spent in hyper arousal. So they're walking around in this high state the whole time, and then they drop out and it becomes autoimmune diseases. It becomes like fibromyalgia or ME, and they're walking around going, what's going on? And that's what I'm really kind of investigating at the moment. I mean, I study Gabor Mate, Bessel van der Kolk, and Peter Levine, and all of those people are pointing that this is what's going on, that women don't realize that they're just so in a state of this
Yeah.
hyper arousal that they have no other choice. Their body keeps them safe by dropping them out. They have their ME, their fibromyalgia is basically there to keep them safe.
Yes. This is what I was.
It's really curious, isn't it?
Yeah, no, this is what I was referring to earlier when I said about soul fragments, about calling your soul fragment back. 'Cause that dropping out is when your kind of soul or higher purpose takes a part of your soul away. So that's why it's so fundamental to clean it and bring it back. To release the trauma and bring it back. Because in the releasing of the trauma, you have to step into more self-love. And there's something else I wanted to go back. You reminded me as well. And my, like you have two heartbeats, and one is about to turn 21, and the other one is about to turn 17. And I've got them one in each flavor. And I had this conversation, with different results, as you can imagine, with both of them, but both of them present and kind of individually as well. But particularly with my daughter, where I said that, I remember back in the day when they were at junior school, another yummy mummy was touted by Oprah back in the day to talk about, when do you talk about masturbation with your children? And when do you talk about I was like, now listen, I was brought up by nuns. This is how diametrically opposed someone like me having this conversation. I am that old and of that old school, back in the day, hardcore Catholic Irish nuns who didn't even want to be nuns. That's a whole different rabbit hole. But they were younger children who were just put through that system. So in other words, they were brutal, vicious, and there was no way they're going to teach you anything, because they had no affection, no love in their life. So there was no way they were going to teach you anything about intimacy or anything like that. But going back to what I talked to my daughter about, she said about girls getting caught and being forced to do different things, and how sad it was in 2024 that peer pressure was forcing these girls to be overly sexualized too early. I know. And I said, if only someone talked to them about masturbation. At which point you can imagine both my kids were just like, yes, so pleased we're having this conversation with your mother. I said, no, you're having this conversation because if you girls knew about masturbation, you wouldn't be giving random blowjobs to. Oh, I've lost your sound. Did I blow your
No,
mind?
no, no, you just blew my mind. We are still on the same page. I just whispered, basically,
Oh,
I didn't
right. Okay.
interrupt
Okay.
you. It's like,
I
we,
literally blew electric, Mercury retrograde and all. So it's such a spiritual light work. I was like, oh yeah, Mercury retrograde. No, actually blew your mind. But
no,
you know,
you actually did, because we've got to have another conversation. I have been having this conversation as to with my how did you describe your children?
heartbeats. My heart.
Heartbeat. I love that. I've been talking to my heartbeat around this conversation, and some of my younger clients are in their 20s, and I've come to the realization, let's just say it like it is, boys are learning and the girls are watching their boyfriends watching the porn, so they have body images that they think they should have shaved parts, and then that's a whole other rabbit hole, right?
Yeah.
But the boys
So
are
disturbing.
thinking
Asking
that
grown
they
men
should
to
be
look like 12-year-olds, but yeah, exactly. That's
the
the whole
boys the
conversation.
boys the boys are asking for these blowjobs that you're talking
Mm,
about. I mean, God,
mm,
people are going to love this conversation. They're asking for these blowjobs. Well, this is the point. It's like the taboo. No one wants to talk about this shit, right? So they're
mm,
asking for the blowjobs, and then the girls are like, "What are you talking about?" Some of them are actually doing the thing, and some of them. I turned around to my daughter and I just said, "If a boy asks you for a blowjob, tell them what that means." That's what I think, well, maybe not now, but in the future, like, what is that all about, right?
That's fair.
And
That's
uh,
fair.
and
2020.
my daughter's like, please don't talk about this in front of my friends who come over for Chinese dinner. And I'm like, but you know what, girl? I'm just saying it like it is. Like, I know from situations that I've heard about that girls and boys are having a lot of friction, because this is what the boys are expecting because they watch too much porn. The girls are then feeling that obviously they're going to say no. The boys go into shame, the girls go into shame, everybody goes into shame, and nobody talks. And what's happening is there's a whole thing going on with these teenagers where they're all really fucking confused. They've all gone into shame folds, and they're not being able to communicate this whole thing with each other. And actually, it's causing trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
Goosebumps.
it's causing trauma.
Before they
So,
even started, they haven't even started their sexual
but they,
journey, and all things are like they're in the subs bench, and they're in the training room, and they're already frozen with trauma, and it's all
correct.
public, it's online. I mean, like,
Yeah,
as I said, my eldest is 21. I remember now you're telling me back in the day when he was in year 11 or whatever, or 12, his best mate's girlfriend, her, but they took it seriously. They made it a pornographic offense. But yeah, but you can't take it away. Her breasts, she did a topless pic for her boyfriend, and that was around the school. But even if you persecute, is that the word I'm looking for? But you can't take away the image. Even when I remember saying to my son, wait as long as possible before you can watch porn. Everybody will make you want to do it. I'd rather you smoke weed at this point than watch porn. That lights in your third eye. But no, but don't do that either. But don't do it tobacco. Like, completely with an Indian woman. But I say, wait as long as you can, because it's so far removed from anything that's remotely to do with real intimacy, which is really off.
exactly. Yeah,
And
so this is what we're pointed to, isn't it?
yeah, sorry. I just want to say this bit because I'm really passionate about, and I talk about this a lot as well, especially in my age group, which is very prevalent, because people are negligent of, like, their sexual health, not only their sexual health, their sexual energetic health. People don't understand that when you sleep with someone, unless you cleared up your sexual energy, you sleep with the last 8 people and all their trauma that they've had sex with. Sorry, Claudia, I just have to get that out because
No.
that I was like, you do understand the legacy of what you're dealing with, and they're like, but think about it.
Yeah,
Think.
100%. 100%. I really hear you about that. Yeah. The energy of what you're giving away of yourself, and making sure that you're receiving in the sort of energy that you want. I mean, literally as women, obviously with intercourse, we receive in an energy, you know, very literally with intercourse, as you know, so we have to be really mindful about where we're placing ourselves. And I think that's a really good point. And I think the conversation that we're having is the sort of conversations that we want to be getting, you know, these young people to sit in circle and talk about. And it's something I've done in the past, and I want to do again in the future. So I think maybe we will have another discussion about that. If you like, because it sounds quite exciting. We're both in London. Why not? We can get together more frequently. So let me get back on track to asking you. Well, no, actually, we're on track. I mean, we're totally on track. Everything we're talking about is all relevant. So, you know, yeah, add in here. Okay, so I'm going to ask you. Okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do then. I'm going to ask you a question. Because we've kind of gone so deep. So you work with men and you work with women?
I work with everyone. My youngest client has been 5, and my eldest is 95.
And is it always sexual trauma, or is it trauma in general? What are the pain points that people come with?
Well, it's usually under the 2 umbrellas of love, finances, abundance. You know, people come in, but of course, me being me, they go like money. I go, you mean financial freedom? Like, I'm very particular about the words you use. It's not there. But you know, so I will also say, again, all comes down to self-love. Because if you have self-love, Claudia, you know this, then you believe in divine wealth. You believe you're worthy of being abundant. You believe there's enough in the world. You don't believe in lack. You don't buy into fear. You don't believe that we're different. You understand we're one. You understand when, you know, I get that when I win, you win. When you lose, I win. We are, you know, this is one consciousness. We are now at a pivotal moment in Gaia's history where we are recreating a new world. So the choice is us. We have entered the age of Aquarius, and I believe that's why I believe like things like this conversation, there's nothing is by accident. Your podcast will flourish because it is, for me, the age of collaboration and not competition. It is no longer, the business is about how do we collaborate? How do we pull together? There is not one single human being on this planet that is kind of reproduced in exactly the same way. We are all so unique. There is no mistake in God, universe, creator's plan. We're all here for a reason. And it's not just to buy into just going to work to make money to give to someone else to pay bills, to come home, to watch TV.
Wow, yeah. You know, 100%. I'm just feeling again into this self-love piece. And I love the way that you describe all the different elements of what self-love means. You know, self-love is pure awareness. It's pure awareness that we're all divinely connected, and that if we come from a place in each moment, that we always come from a place of love, and not from fear, then we are totally immersed in what we can create. And it's been really interesting journey for me lately. I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but being a menopause brain, but you know, this idea that we can, I mean, I work a lot with what's coming through for me. You're talking about the awakening that's happening, and everything that we're moving through right now, the age of Aquarius. And for me, it's been all about this work with the sacred union, the Heros Gamos of the masculine and the feminine, and it's been really, really powerful for me. And I'm very guided by the goddess, and I get downloads from the goddess, and I work with the archetypes, etc. But I've been feeling like I had a lot of pain in my feminine, so I had to work on that. And then I've been feeling a lot of pain in my masculine. I've been over masculated, whatever the word is.
Yeah,
And
same.
and kind of
That
feeling
happens
like
a lot of women.
I'm
They
pushing, and then I was going to say I've been pushing a lot in the masculine. So I've been pushing a lot in the masculine, which is business, which is, you know, and actually, like literally driving home from Glastonbury this weekend, I made that decision. I was like, I am not pushing. I can't do any more with this. But it was like I was off grid, off laptop and phone for 3 days. I was like, I'm not doing this. I've got, this is it. I'm really the masculine. I was true in my masculine. A lot of women are true in their feminine. I'm true in my masculine, and not Carly come through for me. And so I was right. So I was kind of like, no, I've got to. And actually driving home, by the time I'd got home, I had 2 women sign up for my retreat in Glastonbury in June for the solstice. And it was really weird because I kind of did that, not weird, but energetically, I was like, okay, I'm going to work more from the feminine. I need to work more from the feminine. Because this is great with you, but generally I find this pushing and pulling. You talk about collaboration and this competition, versus competition, and to me it doesn't. It's like it's a no-brainer. To me, it's like energetically, it's a no-brainer when we all let go of ownership of what we have. Like you clearly have a modality for sexual trauma, and I've created what I believe is a modality for sexual trauma. It doesn't make me right and you wrong. It doesn't make you right and me. It's like it's
even
all
less than.
and
It
it's
doesn't mean
and
like that one's that less than and that one's less than. No, they're all just different branches to the same goddamn tree, and each branch is beautiful and required.
because every human who needs you or needs me is not the same human.
Exactly.
And that's, it's like that's why there's so many trauma coaches out there. There's some who are people, psychotherapists who work more with the mind, and then you've got more the somatic practitioner with the body, and then you've got people like us who work with body, mind, and spirit. And that's why I've chosen to work with body, mind, and spirit, because all of that makes sense, and because not everybody is the same, right? Everybody needs a different approach, and what drops in for one person with you wouldn't drop in with me. It's just the way it goes. But the world needs a healing. So what are we going to do? Are we going to sit in our corner and own what we do? Or are we all going to come out and have these conversations? I would never have known this about you if I went to a networking group. Unless you were talking, I would have had a little conversation with you and you would have sort of sliding doors with me. But sitting here, now I know I can have this full-on conversation with you, which has probably been going on far too long. It's 12:24. We might have to wrap up, but it's like amazing. It's like, okay, I know that we're going to have a really deep connection after this. So just to end, because we have been talking for so long, and people are going to be like, oh my God, how long is this conversation? I would like to do
Any lifetime, goddess.
many, right. So yeah, what's your why? What's your why? Just tell the audience what's your why?
I think so much of what I do, it is a trauma response, but I've taken and transmuted it into a very positive one. Like my sense of humor is that I don't want anybody to have to suffer the way I did. Obviously, I am a trauma survivor as well, a sexual abuse trauma survivor, emotional, physical, financial, the whole works. I say to my clients, I jump into the hole with you because I've been here before and I know how to get out with ease. So if I can help anybody, if they're up for it, if they want to, as you say, we could probably, and I'm sure every light worker healer and like the whole world, humanity currently in April 2024, there's a single one of us who could not do some healing, but each of us resonates with different things at different times. Sometimes, as you say, it's energy, it's movement. For me, dancing and singing and music is my healing. Even if I don't know the words to it, it's that movement with no kind of no script. That's me. But a long time ago, when I first started to do self-development, someone asked me what I wanted to do. I said I want to make a difference with love, and my name Neha is Sanskrit for one who loves. So it would have been rude not to.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so beautiful. And I can see next to you, you've got that little message says, let's dance. I love that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's from the festival. And so there, here we are. I have a business. It's called Unlocked Bliss because I believe being blissful is our birthright. I believe we forget that. And it's a purposely business. I make a profit for a purpose. So I have high end, some Hollywood clients and things like that that fund my community projects. So I have two community projects. One is called the We Too Project for sexual abuse survivors, and that's donation based. And I have the other one, which is Love You Bye, again, donation based for people who have separation support, be that divorce, empty nesters, or grief, or it's just how to let go with love. Because, that's the other thing as well, isn't it? There's so much in the legacy of the healing of the trauma, any trauma, because, I've had it all. I signed up for the big fat bundle, clearly, when I chose this. Yeah, get me the Costco one. I have everything. A little greedy thing. Like, I have everything on the buffet. But, the advantage of that was that I really got to understand the dynamics of it. Emotional abuse can be one of the worst. Stays in there, and the neurons in your brain get configured to the fact that you're not good enough, you're not worthy, and then you repeat that and you don't understand your reality as a reflection of whatever dialogue's going on in your inner being. So if you can, even because all it takes is 17 seconds, 17, that's why TikTok or social media is 17, 15 seconds. All it takes 50, you can drop into, as you said, your heart center, 15 seconds. And you talked about self-love. For me, this was the other thing I realized this year when I turned 59. If you truly want to embrace, embody, and resonate with self-love, then you have to love all aspects of yourself, even the ugly, hideous bits you don't want to show yourself, even those really grim, under the rock, shamed, I'm not even gonna look at it. You have to love that too. And if there is one other person that can hear that and shift the needle with that, just start there, 17 seconds. I accept, I love. For me, the biggest panacea has been Ho'oponopono, and I may still not be pronouncing that right 20 years on, but the Hawaiian forgiveness mantra. I'm sorry, please forgive me. I thank you, I love you.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, I feel all of that, and how lovely that you have like this kind of high-end clients that kind of pay for those that can't afford, and I really resonate with that. And although I haven't got very many high-paying clients as yet, I will put it out to the universe that that would be really lovely, because I already work a day at Women in Health, and I'll be working more for Solace as well, for free, because I believe that doing that is really needed, and there's so many women that need this and need to access it. So this has been the most amazing conversation. I feel like it's the beginning of a very new friendship, and hopefully we can like put ourselves, like if we did something together, I think it'd be bloody powerful.
Yeah,
So
happy friendship dance.
I'm
I'll do the friendship
you
dance.
did the dance, yeah, do the
Yeah,
dance.
yeah, the
So
happy friendship.
we have a new friendship, fabulous. I'm really
Can
really
I just
glad we
say one
have to.
thing there? Can I just give you my opinion
Yeah,
on, sorry. This is like, see, oh, remember I told you I had a physical tell? I just did that, like, let's just shake. So that was a message for you. This is what came through. I know my palms are itching too. That's hilarious. You know what that means from an Indian. You know when your palms itch, the Indian
yeah.
superstition, money coming in. So I wanted to say to you that you do this stuff for your free thing. Even when I do a lot of healings on TikTok and anything else. You can find me on social media, Unlock Bliss, that's me. Even when I do a healing on TikTok, I say we will exchange something, even if it's one rose, which is like a 10p, give a pound to your charity,
Mm,
whatever, give me something. The reason why is because I've noticed I work, and during the pandemic, worked for 2 years for free. Did anyone appreciate it? Mostly no. There is some, I don't understand that dynamic yet. I haven't understood it because we have a whole complicated conversation around money, abundance, divine
mm,
wealth, blah, blah. We're not even talking about trauma. But but it'll come when the finances collapse by the end of this year. It's all going to get on the table. But you know, the thing is about it, just I always say this, because then they feel like beholden to us and we start feeling resentful to them. So even if it's something, do some kind of exchange, even if they write you a review or video thing, you know, it doesn't have to be monetary. You know that money's energy, right? But there, I just got called to say that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that that exchange of energy is really important, and yeah, an exchange of love, an exchange of appreciation.
See, that was confirmation from your guides. Ow! See, this is what happens to me.
I think having
And
this conversation, if this is the exchange, so this is like, you know, I was guided to do this, and it wasn't clear why, but it was like I know I had to do it.
mm,
And the exchange for me in this is already there. I've met
okay.
you, I've heard what you're doing, I know that we're weaving something already, and it's been beautiful. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
am so appreciative. And so if you just like to repeat where people can find you, it will all go on the information with the video on YouTube. But just repeat it, please, the name of your modality or your course and where people can find you.
Well, I call it the 3 R's: the reveal, release, and reinstall with the quantum instant energy. But the shortcut way is just look for anything that's called unlocked bliss. UNLOCKED bliss. That's right. I'm TikTok, Facebook, TikTok, TikTok, TikTok. Let's see, mastered. I was doing so well. I was doing so well. I was doing so well. Never mind. But TikToks, all social media, Finsta, Minster, Facebook. What else is there? Oh, I can't be bothered to do LinkedIn and Snapchat. Who
Well,
who knows
okay.
what? But
All there.
otherwise,
They can
there.
find you. It will all be with the
4D,
video.
yeah, 5D ether. Just call me in at 3 a.m. in the morning. You name it, whichever your preferred method of communication. Call me
Don't
in.
call her at 3 a.m. in the morning. There
Big
has to be
thanks.
boundaries. Don't call her at
Love
3 a.m. in the morning. I'm just telling you that for her, whether you don't know.
No, definitely boundaries. I'm up alone anyway. How have you found the whole solar eclipse and everything? How have you found all that? That's been quite the ride.
Oh, it has been right. Maybe we'll have that conversation in a minute because our listeners are going to be like, okay, we can't go on any longer. So we'll have that conversation now. But
I thought we
just to
did. Oh
say,
God,
no,
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 sorry.
gotta press. We're still recording, lovely. So just to say thank you so much, and yeah, thank you so much, and we'll carry on this conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching.